You are born in rural Japan in 1894, and your father spent his days staring at weaving machines. Not cars, not engines, not factories worth billions of dollars. Just loud wooden textile machines shaking inside a small workshop while Japan is still trying to figure out what modern industry will even looks like. And somehow from that tiny workshop your family will build Toyota, one of the most powerful automobile companies on earth. But the strange part is Toyota does not begin with cars, it begins with fabric. And honestly, if somebody told you in 1905 that your family business would one day compete against Ford, BMW and Mercedes, you will probably laugh so hard you fall directly into pile of cotton. Because at this point Japan barely has roads, let alone a car industry. Your name is Kiichiro Toyoda. And before you are born, your father Sakichi Toyoda is already obsessed with machines. Not in normal way, in the dangerous way. The kind where people stop talking to you at dinner because you keep discussing gears and wooden parts while everyone else is trying to eat rice in peace. Your father grew up poor. Japan during the late 1800s is changing but fast, but rural families still struggle heavily. And Kaichi hates watching his mother works endlessly on manual weaving machines. So instead of accepting reality, he's trying to fix it. He begins building automatic looms, wooden mechanics designed to make textile work easier and faster. At first, most people think he is wasting time because inventors in small villages usually become that weird guy everybody knows. Not industrial legends, but Sakaichi keeps building, breaking, rebuilding, failing, typing again, trying again. Eventually, one of his automatic looms becomes revolutionary. Factories start paying attention. The Toyota automatic looms works began growing. Money finally enters in the family. And for the first time, your future looks bigger than survival. Now, here is where the things become interesting. Because while your father loves textile machines, you become obsessed with engines. Cars fascinate you. America is industrializing rapidly. Ford is transforming manufacturing forever. And you start realizing something terrifying. Japan is falling behind badly. Europe and America are building the future. Japan is importing it. And you hate that feeling, so you study engineering at Tokyo Imperial University. You become one of the few Japanese engineers seriously studying automobiles during a time when most people in Japan still see cars as a rich people toys. Then your father does something genius. In 1929, he sells the patent rights of his automatic loom invention to British company, and the money from that deal becomes the seed that changes history. Instead of protecting the textile business forever, your father bets on you, on cars. Imagine that conversation. Dad, I know the loom company is successful, but if we risk everything building automobiles in country that barely has own automobile industry, that sounds insane. And honestly, it kind of was. But your father agrees, which means suddenly the pressure becomes enormous. Because now, if you fail, you are not just ruining your own dream, you are burning your family entire legacy. No pressure, just the future of Japanese engineering sitting directly on your shoulders. In the early 1930s, you travel to America and Europe, and the difference shocks you. Ford factories are massive, efficient, organized like machine kingdoms. Meanwhile, Japan still feels you are behind industrially, but instead of feeling intimidated, you become obsessed. You return home determined to build Japanese automobile capable of competing globally. Not copies, real competitors. Toyota begins experimenting with engines inside small workshops. The early vehicles are rough, very rough. The kind of rough where modern drivers will probably survive 5 minutes before demanding Wi-Fi and heated seats. But the engineering mindset is there. Constant improving, constant testing, constant efficiency. In 1935, Toyota completes its first prototype passenger car, the A1. Then comes G1 truck, and suddenly the impossible starts becoming real. Japan now has domestic automaker with ambition, but timing becomes brutal. Because the world is collapsing toward war, resources become limited, steel becomes precious, factories become vulnerable. Japan's economy tightens, and building cars during this period feels almost ridiculous. But Toyota survives barely. Then World War II ends, and Japan is devastated. Cities destroyed, industry damaged, economy shattered. At this point, many companies disappear completely. Toyota almost does too, but the company struggles financially so badly that bankruptcy becomes real. Workers protest, money disappears, production slows heavily, and honestly, this is usually the part where history quietly ends. But Toyota changed its philosophy. Instead of trying to outspend American manufacturers, they outthink them. Efficiency becomes religion. Waste becomes the enemy. Every movement inside factories get analyzed. Every delay matters. Every mistake costs money. This becomes the Toyota production system, a manufacturing philosophy so effective that business around the world let us study it like engineers studying ancient secrets. And suddenly, Toyota transforms, not because it had the biggest factories, but because it becomes smarter, faster, more disciplined. Then comes the Corolla, small, reliable, affordable, and almost impossible to kill. Seriously, some Corollas survive longer than family relationships. The car explodes globally. America notices. Then the oil crisis hits in the 1970s. And while giant America cars are drinking fuel like thirsty dinosaurs, Toyota's smaller, efficient vehicles become perfect for the moment. Sales exploded internationally, and the company that once operated from small engineering workshops in Japan slowly becomes an automotive empire. Factories speed globally. Innovation accelerates. Toyota enters racing, luxury markets, hybrid technology, then Prius arrives. Yes, the current Prius. And once again, Toyota changed the industry, this time with fuel efficient hybrid vehicles. The same company that once struggled to convince people Japan could even build a cars is now influencing the future of transportation itself. And somewhere inside all this success, the original philosophy survives. Continuous improvement, small changes, long-term thinking, discipline over ego, which honestly explains why Toyota became Toyota. Not hype, not flashy marketing, not internet motivation quotes, just relentless engineering. Year after year, decade after decade. And that is the strange beauty of this story. Toyota did not begin with speed or luxury or billions-dollar factories. It begins inside a small workshop with a man trying to make life easier for his mother. That single obsession with improving small things slowly turned into one of the most powerful manufacturing companies in human history. And honestly, that might be the biggest lesson here. Most empires do not begin looking like empires. They begin looking small, unimportant, even ridiculous, until one day the world realized what they were becoming the entire time. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more cinematic documentaries about the people who built the modern world. Because the next giant company you use every day probably started with somebody everyone underestimated.